I don't see a lot of masks on the beach,
Okay.
but at least people are social distancing, and even the walkway that goes all along the beach side. Everybody seems to be without masks until they get onto the streets. So we just keep our distance from them.
Okay. Nice.
Oh, I was successfully got it on Facebook, so I'm very proud of myself here. Of course, it helped a lot that Kirk gave me the password and username, which I didn't have until now. So,
Funny how that works, right?
yeah. No, actually, I'm not, I'm not criticizing him because for the last 6 or 8 weeks, it didn't request it, but for the last 2 weeks, it's been requesting the username and password. So I don't know. Something changed.
So Renee, did you say how's it going with your two? How's life with the twins?
They're great. They're 4.5 months old. We just got the high chairs out today from the garage to set them up. So exciting time. Your coworker.
Exactly. High chair right here.
Yeah, no, we're really excited for them. They're just, as long as they keep eating well, sleeping well, we can't ask for anything more.
Karen, is your daughter in the service in the Marine Corps?
Yeah, it's our granddaughter. And she's in about 2.5 years she's been in now.
Well, what is her, what do they call it? MOS, duty?
Her MOS is communications.
Oh, neat.
So she does server related stuff. So
that's terrific.
I'm sure,
terrific.
And I'm sure a whole bunch of stuff you can't talk about.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a terrific thing to do to prepare you for a civilian job, unless she's going to make the military a career.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see when the re-enlistment comes up.
Yeah. It probably also doesn't put you on the line of fire, hopefully.
Well, and I know of a lot of worse places than getting stationed in Miramar. Miramar's pretty nice.
Yeah, no, that's terrific.
Yeah.
I was never in the service, but we were a contractor to the Navy, and we did a tremendous amount of work in and around San Diego for them. Stayed in the visiting officers' quarters and stayed on base.
Yeah, it's beautiful up here.
I'm going to mute everyone, and then people want to talk, they can unmute themselves. But I see there's a lot of echo and background noise. Don't be shy about muting the talk. Just when you're done, mute yourself again.
I see Carrie's on here. Carrie, how's the baby watch?
Still watching. After 4 visits to the hospital, they still want to try to keep her settled a little bit longer. So just waiting for the final call.
When is she due?
She's due October 3rd.
Oh, good luck. Best of luck.
Thank you very much. Very excited.
By the way, people may not be aware, but Zoom has a feature where you can stay muted, but if you hold the space bar of your computer down, it'll temporarily unmute you. You can talk, like kind of a push to talk. So it's a quick way to kind of jump in.
That's pretty cool. Well, when does the meeting start? I don't see anybody.
Yeah, I think they're usually like around a quarter after that they get going. The window that says Las Vegas Rotary Club is just the video just went on, so they're showing the podium there now.
Yeah, I see.
So Arlene, what time is dinner? What time should we come over? What are you making there? Baking cookies?
We got a little bread machine. It's a small one that fits nicely in our apartment, and so we've been trying all these different recipes. And this is the week of the Jewish high holidays where you traditionally eat this egg bread called challah. So we're experimenting with these different recipes. So if anybody needs a loaf of bread, just come by. We've got a whole bunch of them. Some of them are not very good.
Version 2, version 3, version 4.
Are you back in Las Vegas, Stu?
Yeah, we got in on the 19th. We came back last Saturday.
Okay, I'll move.
Karen is probably familiar with push to talk, right?
I don't think she has a space bar on her phone, though.
Oh yeah.
In my screen. I have that on.
Hello, Jim Tucker. How are you doing?
Doing real good. Nice seeing you guys.
You doing any diving?
You know, I don't think I can catch COVID diving, just being on a boat for a week with strangers.
Only diving in Palau right now is dumpster diving. I mean, in Las Vegas. Hey, Jim, Palau, where you used to go diving, they are looking at putting U.S. military bases there now.
I've dove Palau. They've got some great dives.
Yeah.
Blue corner.
Yeah, so they're looking at putting military bases there because it's in Micronesia and easy access to Korea and China.
Well, Guam is like about 90% of the economy is the Navy, isn't it?
No, not 90%, but they do have a big military base there, yeah.
Yeah, we put the cable TV system in Guam back 20 years ago, and the only customers were on the base. I think the town Agana, I'm probably not pronouncing it right. They had a sports field, and the only thing we did with the cable there was we ran a fiber so that they could broadcast the football games to the Navy base.
Hey, Annie, are you asleep?
No, I'm doing something on the phone while I'm listening to all of you. I don't know, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm listening to all of you. My grandson lives in Germany. And since the COVID, he's been playing Scrabble with me every morning for 5 months.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I'm doing with him. It's actually midnight over there. No, it's 9 o'clock in the evening. It's 12 here. It's 9:17.
Have you ever played Word Feud?
No, we just play Scrabble all the time.
Well, Word Feud is just like Scrabble. My wife is looking for a partner because I won't play with her enough.
Why wouldn't you?
You kidding?
I'm going to have to ask my wife what it is that she does. She plays something online with a friend in Huntington Beach that looks like Scrabble. And then it's in addition to the game, there's like a chat window. So they play the game and then they kibitz with each other by chat while they're doing it. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's Word Feud.
He calls on WhatsApp.
Hello, and welcome to everybody on Zoom as well as everyone in the room to the Thursday, September 24th meeting of the best Rotary Club in the universe. Our invocation today will be past President Steve Linder.
Thank you, President Richard. This is an Irish prayer. You've blessed us with friends and laughter and fun, with rain that's as soft as the light from the sun. You've blessed us with stars to brighten each night. You've given us help to know wrong from right. You've given us so much. Lord, give us too a heart that is always grateful to you. Amen.
And Kirk, do you want to present us with a patriotic song to get us started?
Trying to make it so the
I don't
firefighter
see
can see
past
conditions
President
where they normally
Michael
can't.
Gordon
In the
here.
dark,
Michael,
and
are you
smoke.
here?
Wouldn't you like the people who are trying to find you and help you to be?
I invited Michael to tell us
here.
why rugby fans and teams sing the Star Spangled Banner so much more enthusiastically than we do. And
So I said it's because the rugby players know they're playing the better game.
on that note, I would invite you to join me in this Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. And thank you to Kathy and Alberto for setting up and greeting. Thank you to Steve for the invocation. Benjamin, thank you for serving as a sergeant in arms today. And thank you in advance to Bert and Susan for the teardown, as well as to Terry Serrano, I see up there, for being our scribe today. Thank you, Terry. And to Tina Bishop for being our paparazzi. First, do we have any guests of Rotarians here today? Okay. Well, you got to hold it. Okay. I have 5 guests today. From Dallas, they're rubbing it in that they beat the Knights the whole trip they've been here. And no, but we have JOG, we have Eric Earnshaw, we have Wallace Reed, Mario Trevino, and Bill Fisher. They're my business partners, and I'd like to welcome them to the order. Thank you. Any other guests? Any visiting Rotarians? All right. Maybe one more round of applause for all of our guests to make them feel welcome. Just a reminder, we have adopted meeting guidelines during the pendency of this virus outbreak. We are agreeing to follow all federal, state, county, and Lowry's guidelines for group meetings. Any member who tests positive or exhibits virus symptoms will self-quarantine for 2 weeks. You're welcome to watch online on the Zoom during that period or participate that way. But pursuant to Lowry's guidelines, please don't come for 2 weeks. Anyone attending a meeting in person will wear a mask or face shield, which covers or shields their mouth and nose, except during the period that they're actually eating. The sergeant at arms will wear a mask and will hold and present the roving microphone to members who are making announcements while they are wearing a mask, all designed to minimize the spread of the COVID virus. And following the meal, when members are no longer eating, they will put their mask or face shield back on. And we are sorry that some people find this to be an inconvenience, but because we've had members who did test positive for COVID-19, and we're trying to keep this as safe as possible and keep this open and not have to switch back to an entirely virtual meeting format like so many other clubs have been forced to do. We appreciate your cooperation in wearing the masks. On that note, Jim Hunt, did you have anything to tell us about the Wheelchair Foundation?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, we just delivered our 25th wheelchair the other day, and things are going pretty well. I've had people reach out to me from a few different churches and things. We've got lots of wheelchairs still to give away. So please continue to get the word out. 3 criteria are Nevada resident, permanent disability, and they can't afford a chair, and we'll get them a brand new spanking red, fire engine red, lightweight wheelchair.
And that would be a red wheelchair with a Las Vegas Rotary Club.
That's correct.
Plate?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you, Jim. A reminder, we're still trying to distribute Rotary Club rosters that are now available. If you haven't already picked up yours, please do pick yours up before you leave today. And if you look around the room and realize there are members who live near you or work near you who haven't yet picked up their roster, please reach out to them and ask them, would you like for you to pick up their roster and bring it to them? We've been doing that so far and quite successful in getting many distributed. Plus, it's a great opportunity to visit with people that you haven't seen in a meeting for a while. Next, food heroes. Do we have a food hero spokesperson?
Okay, after a very successful Rotary Heroes Day on September 15th, we're proposing to sustain our commitment to delivering with dignity and to brand Rotary food heroes moving forward during the pandemic and beyond. Think of it, how many times a year do our clubs serve the hungry in Las Vegas, from Project 150, Thanksgiving, Christmas meals, 3 Square, Salvation Army, etc. That's we're going to offer the few steps, and it's been approved by Delivering with Dignity, the first Wednesday of every month beginning in November. So any of you that would like to ride, please let me know and I'll make sure you get on the list. We're going to need that app, which is on fleet. So we'll have that because it's been very successful. And also we would like to, we discussed in last evening's presentation, that we would like to everyone to pair up so that we can deliver more meals that way more efficiently. So think about a spouse, significant other, or friend that can pair up in the car with you. And we don't have any additional funding needed because funding is quite substantial through Delivering with Dignity. But if any of you do want to donate, it's $6 per meal, and you can donate on the Delivering with Dignity website. And may I do the second one, President Richard? Okay, finally, a close to my year. On October 3rd will be the district awards. It's going to be here at Lowry's, and due to restrictions on attendance, only the presidents from Luann's year are invited, and past district governors as well as district personnel. However, I did ask past district governor Tom Novotny and district governor designate Mike Soden to put on a Zoom presentation for those of you that would like to participate in the awards. And if they get that together, we'll get an invitation the first of next week. So I'm excited to finally be able to close our year, my year.
Well, again, welcome to the 17 people who are joining us by Zoom this morning, and anyone else who's watching on Facebook. Today, we're going to try something a little bit different. People who had RSVP'd to come to this meeting, who contacted Sean and asked to purchase tickets in the raffle, were able to fill their accounts for those tickets, and their tickets are in the fishbowl with everybody else. And so it is possible that the 2 tickets that were pulled for today, one of them may be one of the people online. The excitement is mounting. To pull the joker for the Lowry, for the pot, the ticket is not someone on Zoom. And so it may be someone in the room with the ticket 8139494. All right. Okay. You get a $10 bill. Thank you. And for the Lowry's Bucks, also not someone on Zoom, sorry. Better luck next time. It is someone in the room with ticket 8139561. All right, Brian. Come on down. Well, since we got through announcements pretty quickly, our guest speaker is still eating his lunch. So we'll give him, if you don't mind, we'll go now so we don't have any dead air time.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, and our friends in the internet world, I'd like to introduce to you a great man, a gentleman who's been a friend of mine. We just figured out probably about 23 years ago. I got to know him a lot better because of his commitment to the community when he coached my son and then coached my daughter in baseball and then soccer. He's a local bred. His family roots go back to 1905. So he really understands what's been going on in the community for more than a century. A lot of people may be surprised to learn that he's an attorney. He decided to get a law degree, but he decided not necessarily to practice law. But he has been an adjunct professor at UNLV in hotel law, I believe. He's been involved in some of the most important financing decisions in Southern Nevada and probably in the whole state of Nevada by being involved with the expansion of the convention center and with the Raider Stadium. Our speaker today is Jeremy Aguero, the founder of Applied Analysis. He's going to talk to us about the local market, statistics, trends. Please help me welcome Mr. Aguero, Jeremy Aguero.
I'd like to start. I want to make sure I'm not violating any rules. Do I have to keep this on while I'm talking here? Oh, thank you, baby Jesus. All right. Yeah, that's the problem, right? It's my glasses. It's not. I mean, look, I don't like the mask. Thank you. I appreciate you. Let me start by saying how thankful I am for the opportunity to come here and be back in front of the Rotary again. It's been quite some time since I've been here. I also want to thank Mr. Ballard for that very kind introduction. I've known him, as he said, quite some time. I don't know a more genuine person in the state of Nevada. He's touched so many of the important things that we've done and worked on so many important projects throughout his career. Not only is he a wonderful business person, but also an incredible family man that I had the opportunity to get him to know him at that level, and I'm really glad that I did. I also want to say congratulations to Richard Yost for his retirement. I hadn't seen him in a while, and sort of strikes me as particularly germane to what we're talking about today as we're dealing with the economy as it is and living under COVID-19. You don't get out and see people the same way, and apparently the Rotary is finding a way around that, and I'm impressed by it. It's the first time I've given an in-person well, I guess that's not really true. I have been relatively rare in the past 5 months for me to do something along these lines, and sometimes you miss that interpersonal interaction. So if I seem a little rusty, you'll forgive me as we go through. Tom Thomas called me, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago and asked me if I'd come here and give this presentation. Of course, my answer was yes. You don't tell Tom no. That just gets you in a lot of trouble. And he asked if I just sort of give a bit of an update in terms of what we're seeing out there. And so I prepared some slides for you, kind of walk through what it is that we're seeing and what we're looking at in the economy today. But so much of the conversation is around COVID-19, right? There's no doubt we're living through a crisis, a historic crisis for that matter. But it's not the only challenge that we're dealing with. I'll submit to you that we're not dealing with a single crisis. We're actually dealing with 5 separate crises today. A public health crisis, an economic crisis, a fiscal crisis, a legal crisis, and then a social crisis that is sort of manifest from that public health crisis. And I think in order to do it justice, I think I've at least got to touch on all 5 of those. And so that's what I'll try and do with you here today. From a public health standpoint, I think that's the place we need to start because everything is driving off of that. These are charts you've seen all the time. This is the flattening of the curve. This is the total number of cases of COVID-19 in Nevada and in the United States. Those little flags that I put up that I'm sure are impossible for you nice folks to see in the back, those charts, those little flags that I put up are when we had a declaration of emergency, when we had the mask order and those type of things. And you can see that all those happened. We had a pretty big uptick in the number of cases in Nevada, but those have dropped dramatically. Now the conversation has switched to this, which is more the holidays that are coming up, opening of colleges, opening of schools, particularly in the northern portion of the state. And is that going to lead to an increase in the number of cases? And of course, I'll highlight here to the far right-hand side of both of my charts, we started to see a bit of an uptick, both nationally and in the state of Nevada.
Calling to ask her questions about the differences in some of your products. Is there somebody that I need to speak to in sales?
Hi, somebody's online that might want to consider muting. I don't know what products I have for you to be able to touch base on, but we're Applied Analysis. You're welcome to reach out to us anytime. We're very, very diverse in terms of what we're able to provide. On the far right-hand side are 2 charts that I just want to focus on, and I'm not going to read too much into that, but we have seen an uptick. Nationwide, this has created concern among some public health officials that are concerned about the fact that this is going to lead to the flu, the flu season and, this sort of second wave. On the left-hand side, it's just concern that, we're leading back up. We have seen an uptick in some of the cases. If we move forward, I think you're going to have to click back on it because now my clicker's not. Thank you. Perfect. I'm guessing I can do it from here. I sure can. Thanks a bunch. This is the test counting. And the only reason I wanted to bring the test counting up was on the far right-hand side of my Nevada chart. You'll remember when Clark County started to highly promote the Stop, Swab, and Go program. It was going to get everybody tested and everybody was going to show up. You can see that we didn't have a huge increase in testing as a result of that. Yes, we've continued relatively stable in terms of our testing, but we haven't seen a huge increase. And so the combination of those things leads me to 2 areas that I just want to focus on as areas that we really should be concerned. And as we have conversation with state and local elected officials, this is the one that sort of highlights it all. This is where we stood in terms of cases per 100,000 residents on June 1st of 2020. This is where we are as a state today. You can see we've gone from the far left-hand side of the chart, the far right-hand side of the chart. We've actually started to come back the other way, and that's positive for us overall. We have seen the testing rate come down. So from a public health standpoint, we are making significant improvements, although we still have this issue, which is hanging over us from an economic standpoint and leading some of our elected officials to be leery about opening up the economy too quickly and so forth and so on. I think some of us would argue you're not opening it up enough. They're obviously trying to balance public health against economic issues. The final one that I would point out is hospitalizations. I would argue that among all of the statistics we look at from a public health standpoint, hospitalizations is most important. And you can see that it has not only declined, but it has declined 62%. We have plenty of capacity in Nevada today in order to treat this. And the other part is that we are doing much better for a number of reasons. Number one, we're just better at it. But number two, we've seen an increase in the number of cases be around more young people, right? Age 20 to 35 is where we're seeing the greatest number of the cases come up. And frankly, they're just healthier. They have less extenuating circumstances or pre-existing conditions. And so that's a really good thing for us overall. Look, I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a virologist. I'm not a doctor in any sort of way. But clearly, as the public health crisis starts to subside, the economic crisis can find a new footing and we can start to see improvements. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing as we go through. And that's a positive for us. Look, if the number of cases start to increase, the biggest concern that we have now is kids coming home from college, right? That's the next big wave that people are concerned about. Going home for the Thanksgiving holiday and then coming back, obviously the flu season. We'll see. But for right now, we're holding up. Now, that public health crisis has translated into an economic crisis. And I'm guessing that all of us sitting in here kind of know that. But the manifestation of that has come in many different ways. This is initial unemployment insurance claims in the state of Nevada, right? You can see, if you look all the way on the very left side, far left side of my chart, that's, I guess I can click this little button here. This guy right here, that's prior to COVID-19. That's a normal month in terms of initial unemployment insurance claims. You can see how rapidly they increased after that. You can also see how dramatically they've come down, and that's a real improvement overall. This is our normal state unemployment. This is the federal expansion of unemployment insurance into gig workers and independent contractors. This is sort of those key periods that we had going forward. Are we doing better? Yes. Are we out of the woods? No. Right? Where we are today, that August 29th, 2020 is the most recent data that we have for initial unemployment insurance claims. These are the top 30 months in the state of Nevada's history relative to unemployment insurance claims, initial unemployment insurance claims. We're still in the top 30. All the ones that are gold are all the ones that have occurred during COVID-19. The order of magnitude is significant here, and so that's important. The other piece of that we have to spend some time on is continued claims. This is how many people are continuing to ask for unemployment or receive unemployment insurance benefits. And you can see that this decline has not looked nearly like the one that we just looked at. Those were just people every week applying. These are people that are applying week in and week out. This is normal unemployment insurance claims. This is what is referred to as PUA, or essentially the federal expansion. This is the 13 weeks additional to the federal government gave, and this is the state extended benefit program. Still today, we have 333,000 people that are receiving unemployment insurance benefits throughout the state of Nevada. That would even today be a record level, higher than after September 11th, higher than the worst period during the Great Recession. We still have that here today in the state of Nevada. Again, just some of the key flags that are out there. It's a double-edged sword for us for unemployment insurance. Certainly we don't want to be paying people not to work, but at the same time, those dollars that have flowed in to the state of Nevada, and we're going to talk about stimulus as we go through here, from an economic perspective, those dollars flowing into the state of Nevada have been tremendous. Arguably, Las Vegas in particular has more employees that have benefited by getting more from unemployment insurance than they were actually getting by working than any other major metropolitan area in the country. Those federal inflow of dollars has been $3.7 billion have flowed into the state of Nevada in those extended or enhanced unemployment insurance benefits. And we've paid out $6.5 billion overall. On the left-hand side is how much we're paying out in unemployment insurance every single month. On the right-hand side is how much is left in our state's unemployment insurance trust fund. We've gone from $2 billion to $117 million since the COVID-19 crisis began. In 2 weeks, we will start borrowing money from the federal government to continue to pay unemployment insurance. That is a big problem for the state of Nevada. This is Southern Nevada's employment, just a transition to Southern Nevada. So obviously near and dear to all of us and represents about 75% of all of our state's employment. You can see the Great Recession, you can see the growth, you can see where we are, and you can see COVID-19 over on the far right-hand side. Sometimes I have a hard time expressing to people just how significant the economic interruption has been for COVID-19. During the Great Recession, Southern Nevada lost 137,000 jobs over 2.5 years. During COVID-19, we lost 241,000 jobs in 2 months, right? That drop off in employment is dramatic and is scary, and it should be for all of us. Those unemployment insurance benefits have essentially been buoying our state's economy for the better part of the last 3 years. And I will tell you, but for those, our unemployment rate would probably be significantly higher, the stimulus overall. I used to use this chart. This is the change in employment every month versus the same month of the prior year. And I used to use this chart to show people just how dramatic the Great Recession was relative to a normal recession, which is what happened leading up to and immediately following the events of September 11th. right? Obviously, that was a difficult time for our community, but it was orders of magnitude less than what we saw during the Great Recession. And now you see on the far right-hand side, you see what we're dealing with in terms of COVID-19. And yes, we're adding jobs back. And yeah, we're going to talk about those as we continue to go through here today. But where we stand today is still roughly equivalent to the number of people that were displaced from their job during the worst month in the Great Recession. If we just look at from February to August, where the jobs have been lost, February to August, this is what it looks like. Leisure and hospitality, our core industry, has lost 70,000 jobs, followed by business and professional services and trade, transportation, and utilities. Financial activities have added a few jobs back, but that's largely to deal with things like the CARES Act. But nonetheless, that's pretty daunting for us in terms of how many jobs have been lost from just February to August. If we look at it in percentage terms, 24%, roughly 1 out of every 4 leisure and hospitality employees has been displaced and continues to be displaced today. Information, business and professional services, and the like continue to be off by a huge amount. Mining and logging represents 300 employees, so it's immaterial in terms of our total here. But nonetheless, almost every sector of our economy is reeling, and we should know why. Leisure and hospitality represents roughly 30% of our workforce overall. Indirectly, when we think about suppliers, induced employment, we think about all of those employees going back to their neighborhoods and spending money on, grocery stores and movie theaters and going to doctor's offices, is all dependent on those folks' decision to get on a plane or get in a car and come to Las Vegas and visit us for a while. Now, the recovery has also been significant. Between when we hit the bottom of the Great Recession and getting back to the number of jobs that we have added, 115,000 since we bottomed out here in COVID-19, it took us 73 months to add back as many jobs as we have added back in about 5 in the state of Nevada, and Southern Nevada, excuse me. And the reason for that is because it's about a third, a third, and a third. A third of jobs came back instantly when we reopened the economy. A third of jobs are coming back gradually as businesses get back up to speed. It's the third that's our biggest problem. It is the long arc of the COVID-19 crisis that's going to be the challenge. I am much less worried about our economy functioning at 25% of its productivity for 6 months than I am us operating at 70 or 80 or even 90% of our productivity for 2 to 3 years. And that's going to be the biggest challenge we're going to deal with. Looking at where those jobs have been added back from April to August, you can see we've added back about half the jobs in most categories. The one on this chart that scares me more than anything else is the one at the very bottom, construction. Oftentimes, construction from an economic standpoint is the economic canary in the coal mine, right? As it starts to decline, there is less investment. There's less expectation on a go-forward basis. Right now, during the COVID-19 crisis, we were constructing the Allegiant Stadium. We were constructing the Convention Center project. We were constructing Circa and Resorts World. Let me ask you the question. What is the next major project? Obviously, the Sphere is in the pipeline, but the major projects are sort of delayed somewhat. You can see the percentage changes just to give you order of magnitude in terms of how many we've gotten back. Now, I talked about the public health crisis that has manifested itself now in our community as an economic crisis, which may be even more immediately problematic for us. But I would argue what the bridge is to all of this is actually a fiscal crisis and how we're dealing with it. And so let me walk you through that. We've all heard of the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. I wrote a paper at the very beginning of this talking about COVID-19 and talking about stimulus and talking about $2.3 trillion worth of stimulus. I have a hard time explaining to people. We're now roughly at about 2.8, 2.9, probably getting close to $3 trillion in stimulus. I have a hard time explaining to people how large of a number that truly is. So I've got a couple of slides, but let me just give you an example. Let's imagine that you spent $3 million every single day since Jesus was born. You will have spent less than how much we're put in terms of this stimulus package. Let me just show you what that looks like in terms of order of magnitude. This is U.S. disposable personal income. It's how much money all of us have to spend on all the things we want to spend money on, right? That's how much it is. Each one of those marks represents the year-over-year growth in U.S. personal disposable income. This is what it looks like in COVID-19. As I have tried to explain to my brother-in-law time and time again, it is a lot easier to spend money you don't have than it is to pay back money you don't have, right? And this is what we're doing in the United States. If you don't think this is running a risk of inflation and putting our nation at risk, I think we're fooling ourselves. We have broken the bank to build a bridge to the other side of the COVID-19 crisis. And how did we do it? How did we get so much increase in disposable income? This is M2 money supply. In common terms, this is the total amount of money that is in domestic circulation, right? You can see, remember ARA, the American Relief and Recovery Act? Everybody remember that one? Look at the gray area, that's the recession. That's what we did during ARA. Look at what we've done during COVID-19. Now, look, I have to tell you, in working with the federal delegation, I am very much in favor of the stimulus package. I don't want to leave anybody with that impression, right? But the way we've delivered it, the way we've put it out, the order of magnitude and the amount of money that's in there is incredible relative to what we've seen historically. This is just another way of looking at the same thing. This is year over year percentage increase, because somebody, when I was giving this presentation, said, well, you know, money was worth a lot less during the Carter administration. Fair enough. So let's look at and compare the 80s. Carter was obviously right before the 80s, but let's look at what it looked like and where it is today. It is orders of magnitude larger. We are printing money to keep people afloat. And at the end of the day, when we're wondering how people are still going out to eat, when we're wondering how restaurant sales and auto sales are staying up, we're going to talk more about that. When we're wondering why our economy has not entirely collapsed in the state of Nevada and here in Southern Nevada, this is the reason why. And I would submit to you that that is not sustainable. It was designed for a simple purpose. It was designed to hit the pause button. The amount of stimulus is roughly equivalent to 2 months of gross domestic product in the United States. 2 months, right? That's how much we pumped into the economy, allowing us to shut down for 2 months, get to the other side of COVID-19, and then allow the economy to come back. Now, maybe that's going to work. I certainly hope that it does. We've seen COVID-19 start to dip down. But if it starts to rear its head again, the question is whether Congress is going to need to expand that. And I want to be clear, people didn't go out and spend all of that money. This is the United States personal savings rate, which also jumped to record levels. That's a 26% increase to 33%. This is good. The problem is, the reason that people saved all that money is because there was nowhere for them to spend it in April, right? That's why. That's what the savings are. And you can see, as stuff is coming back up, we are working exactly in the opposite direction. Anybody that wants to take a bet in terms of when that number gets back below zero, I'm in. The other part that I wanted to mention that has come up a little bit is that people have said there's a lot of consumer credit being expanded. And that's not true at all. This is total consumer credit owned and securitized outstanding. And you can see that that number, this is just the growth rate, is not getting inordinately larger. So while consumers have had a whole lot of money coming in, they're not expanding credit in a huge way. This is the money that the state of Nevada got in terms of the stimulus. The CARES Act funding coming to Nevada. It is it will be $19 billion. This is where we are today, $18.4 billion. The PPP is 4.2. The emergency increase in unemployment, 3.8. The recovery rebates, the $1,200 for individuals, the $500 per child, $2.6 billion flowing into the hands of consumers in the state of Nevada. We wonder why neighborhood casinos are doing so well, right? We wonder why auto sales are up so high, because we have put in a huge amount of stimulus in the hands of consumers. People like to focus on the number. I like to focus on the expiration date. I'm worried about the cliff. And you can see that these haven't been expanded as of yet. And so that's a problem for us. And why does it make me nervous? This is Southern Nevada, taxable retail sales per employee. And it's a complicated chart. I don't need you to spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out exactly what's there. That little red line smooths it because you can see all those peaks. Those are how much money we're all spending in December for Christmas and all those type of things, right? Right now we stand at $4,005 per employee that we're spending in taxable retail sales. Now, that in and of itself doesn't make me nervous. This is what makes me nervous. On the left-hand side is inflation-adjusted spending per employee during the worst part of the Great Recession. On the right-hand side is inflation-adjusted per employee spending, taxable spending, during COVID-19. Now, on the left-hand side, our unemployment rate peaked at 14%. On the right-hand side, it peaked at 34%. Somebody's going to have to explain to me how people are spending more money today. And I mean, the obvious answer is stimulus, but if we start to ride that up, it's going to be a problem. And where are the areas where that stimulus has increased? Where have we seen it? If we look at the growth in taxable retail sales, it's actually down 1% in June versus where it was a year ago in inflation-adjusted employee terms, so to common size it. But where are we seeing the big increases? The one on the top shouldn't come as any surprise whatsoever. I'm pretty sure my wife and daughter have personally gotten that from 100% to 200%, right? Right? They buy everything possible from Amazon. And it's great. I love it. I want a package delivered every day. I can just get on, whatever, it's going to be there tomorrow. No fuss, no muss. It's great. We've all transitioned over. There's no surprise there. Building materials and gardening equipment. Okay, maybe. Food and beverage stores, vehicle sales up 25% from where they were. Really? 25%. So let's talk about these as we kind of go through. Nevada household spending of stimulus payments. 77% of households are indicating that they are using those stimulus payments mostly for expenses, household expenses. And how are they using them? Food, utilities, household, rent, all of those type of things. These are things. And when that goes away, it's going to be a problem. Because here's the question. Funds used by Nevada households in the past 7 days to meet spending needs. Obviously, regular incomes at the top, but more than 1 out of every 4, households are using their savings. 1 out of every 4 households is putting money on credit cards. And here's stimulus payments and unemployment insurance, which is 1 out of every 5 households are utilizing that. That to me is a problem. And that to me is dependence upon stimulus that when it starts to fade, we're going to be dealing with it. And then, of course, you've got the PPP, right? About 40,000 loans up to 500,000, another 5,600 greater than 150,000 here in Nevada alone. There are 430,000 employees that are currently covered by the PPP program. When it starts to fade, watch out. Then you've got coronavirus 2. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here other than to show you the chart. Obviously, no one in Washington, D.C. can get along relative to this. Some people want to give trillions of stimulus. Some people don't. At the end of the day, it's kind of a wait and see kind of attitude. We'll see how it ultimately plays out. How quickly could we get these stimulus checks later on? The best case scenario is late October today, even under the rapid that we saw under the original CARES Act. And there's a lot on there, but you get the idea. We are going to have a gap period that's a challenge for us. President Trump President Trump put into action the Lost Wages Assistance Program. Nevada was the last state in the United States to take advantage of that program, which is slowing down how much money we have coming in. From a legal perspective, again, I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time here. From a legal perspective, we have companies that are going through bankruptcy. We have reorganizations that are happening. We have concerns over executive powers. Can governors really close down economies? Can the president do all the things that they're being asked to do? How long can some of that happen, right? We also have an eviction moratorium that's been extended, right? So essentially, let's be clear what we've done in the United States. We have given people an unprecedented amount of stimulus so that they can pay all of their bills. And then we've told them, you don't have to pay your bills, right? This is a relatively remarkable thing. But the other piece that I want you to think about is as we look at how many people are not paying their rent today, let me ask the question, where do you think that $1,000 a month is going? Amazon, right? Or Station Casinos, or Boyd, or South Point, or something else, or they're going to buy a car. Right? That's exactly what's going on. Employers face increase in COVID-19 wrongful death lawsuits from the Insurance Journal. For those that are business owners, we know that it's a concern. The Nevada State Legislature took action to provide some protection. But what are the two groups that cannot receive that protection? Anybody want to hazard a guess? Healthcare professionals, hospitals, and teachers. You're exactly right. Right? Now, I have to tell you, in some ways, that's a bit of a slap in the face, I think, for healthcare professionals. And for teachers, I just don't get it. It sort of indicates, where the power is in some of those things. But that feels like a real problem for me. I'll touch on social as well without dealing too long. As those eviction moratorium comes off, what's going to happen? All of a sudden, you're going to have a lot of people that we're going to have to evict, right? At some point, you can't live in the house forever. During the Great Recession, we had strategic default, right? Everybody remembers strategic default. I'm upside down on my house. Hey, I'm going to save up some money, put a down payment on another one. Bank, go ahead and take this back. I'm gone. No problem. Now what we have is strategic delinquency. And I'm telling you, I think that's going to be the problem we see in 2021. 13.2% of people in the state of Nevada did not make their mortgage payment last month. 13.2%. 1 out of every 10 people. Now, I don't know how many people there are in here. I'm looking at you because I made mine. Okay? But think about it as we go forward. 215,000 people are reporting being food insecure sometime or often in just the past 7 days. And the one that scares me more than anything else from a social standpoint, 36% of people in the state of Nevada indicated that they delayed getting medical care some point during the past 4 weeks because of COVID-19. We're not putting people in hospitals. Hey, look, when elective surgery is delayed, it becomes emergency surgery. And that's what we're starting to see in some of our hospitals today. And we're getting a bunch of mixed signals. I get it. I'm going to talk about a couple of them, but I think it's all the result of the masking that we are seeing because of the stimulus. I want to talk about the tourism industry. A lot of red lights on this one. This is Southern Nevada's visitor volume over the past, 12, 13, 14 months, something along those lines. We are down 61.4%. We are at 1.53 million visitors in July after we had opened our economy. Let's just do it by way of comparison because I have a hard time telling people how important this is. This is during COVID-19. Okay, this is during COVID-19, right? We're down 61.4%. This is the worst 10 periods in the state and Southern Nevada's history. September 11th, 2001, when airplanes were not allowed to fly, visitor volume was only down 14.1%, right? Orders of magnitude different. This is auto traffic, right? This is McCarran International Airport traffic. We have become a mega regional market. That's what we're doing today, right? And where are the vast majority of our regional visitors coming from? Right. And what's going on in California? It is on fire. 5 of the 6 largest California wildfires in the state's history started in just the past 6 weeks. Combine that with in January of 2020, California had a budget surplus of $5.6 billion. As we sit here today, it has a $54.3 billion budget deficit. Thank God we live in the great state of Nevada, right? Convention travelers, also a huge concern. 16% of our visitors come for conventions, trade shows, and meetings, and that number is 0. Our hotel occupancy rate is at the lowest rate it has been since 1982, right? Overall occupancy in those hotels that we have open is at 42.5%. Their ability to make it at 42.5% isn't going to last very long. We've got 123,000 hotel rooms open out of our 150,000 hotel rooms that we have, right? We've opened up some other ones, Tropicana, Park MGM, Oyo. Those ones opened up in just the past week or so. That's good. Others are saying we're going to take a bit of a wait and see attitude. But if we look at it in terms of average daily room rate on the left and revenue per available room on the right, I will argue the 2 most important statistics we can think about in terms of our core tourism industry. You can see where we are versus where we have been historically. These are critically important to our ability to recover. And if we obviously had that bounce off the bottom, if we don't see it start ticking back up the right way, it's going to be increasingly problematic for us. Here's gross gaming revenue. And this is the chart. Let me go back here for a second. Let me just skim over this. We are back to April 2003 gross gaming revenue, right? Where were you in April of 2003? We'll leave that alone, right? But you get the idea. Now, this is the one I want to show you. On the left-hand side, strip gross gaming revenue is down 39.2%. 39.2% on our strip. The locals market is only down 8.2%. Ladies and gentlemen, how is that possible? The only way that's possible is exactly what he just said, stimulus. And if that is not sustainable, I would suggest to you, we've got problems. This is economic impact of COVID-19 on small businesses. And this is the other one that keeps me up at night. You can see that as our economy started to open up there in June and July, these numbers started to ramp back up. But look at the far right-hand side of this chart. Those revenues, that black line along the top is 100%, essentially setting us back to where we were pre-COVID-19. Those lines are not edging up. Those lines are edging down. And for small businesses in Nevada, I would suggest to you, their ability to sustain post-COVID-19, post-stimulus, is going to be a challenge. The housing market appears to be the exact opposite of this. The housing market appears to be going gangbusters. This is the reason why. And it's not a Nevada challenge. This is a national challenge. The supply of homes at the end of last month is the lowest rate we have seen in recent history. This is just the change in terms of year-over-year change. We're down 21%. Obviously, right? What happens? We all understand supply demand, economics 101. You constrain supply, prices are going to go up, or at least prices are going to be sustained. And why? Because before COVID-19, this was my home, this was my gym, this is my office, my gym, my kids' school, and this is where I took my vacation. Post-COVID-19, this is my home, this is my office, this is my gym, my kids' school, and this is where I'm taking my vacation, right? You're wondering why people are putting money into housing. It's because this is where we're spending all of our time, right? And if I'm not going to take that vacation, I'm not going to buy that car, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that, you're darn right, I'm going to put a little bit more money into my house. And if we look at effective months of inventory, you can see just how low it has gotten. It is very low in that regard. Yes, median new home prices on the left, existing new home prices on the right, they have remained stable. It is a function of supply. And I'm hopeful that when we hit that pause button and we put that stimulus in, that we're going to get to the other side of COVID-19 and the economy is going to make it back. That is the best case scenario. If it doesn't happen, sustaining that trend is going to be remarkably difficult. New home closings on the, you get it here, right? This is existing home closings. They're doing relatively well overall. The Housing Opportunity Index remains kind of middling, which essentially says about 50% of people can afford a median home price. Again, we don't have one crisis. We have 5 that we are dealing with. And right now, we're dealing with it not terribly well. This is the Kubler-Ross grief cycle. I'm sure you've all seen it before in terms of how we deal with periods of grief. Right now, we are here. We're an angry bunch. We're bargaining with, let me open if I do this and let me do that. We are an angry bunch. We need to get here really fast. This is COVID-19. It is a pandemic. It's not going to go away anytime soon. It's not going to be gone overnight. And even if we believe it is, as business folks believe that it's maybe we're overreacting to it, the people that are in charge do not. And so we're going to have to deal with the public health crisis and the reality of it and how it manifests economically, fiscally, socially, and legally. From a public health standpoint, I would argue that we have to prepare and communicate and prevent and communicate and educate and communicate and, for the love of God, respond and communicate for the simple purpose that we need to let people know, where do we need to get to and how close are we to getting there, so we know what type of progress and so we can prepare. From an economic standpoint, we've got to keep our economy open. The reason we're all wearing these masks is not because many of us are worried about getting sick. We're worried about keeping the economy open overall. It's a mitigation measure that allows us to move forward with that. And I guess I should talk more. We've got to eradicate fraud. We've got to listen to what businesses are telling us about what they can do and what they can't do. And we've got to have a unified message for Las Vegas overall. From a fiscal standpoint, we are going to be spending down reserves. It's raining. If we're not putting money out onto the street, we're making a huge mistake. And the last one I will argue is the most critically important. We have to recognize that we have an economic problem first and a fiscal problem second. If the state wants to deal with its fiscal problems, get people back to work. That is going to be the number one thing we can do to make that happen. From a legal standpoint, we've got to be balanced. We've got to make sure we're protecting businesses. We've got to make sure we're protecting customers. We have to aggressively protect the interest of the state of Nevada. And socially, we have to recognize that people are dealing with this in different ways. Homelessness, food insecurity. These challenges are going to be real. We better bring the fire trucks up to the front, because if I'm wrong, I pray that I am, and COVID-19 sort of fizzles out and we can all get back to normal. But if it doesn't go that way, we darn well better be prepared to help our friends, to help our neighbors in many ways like the Rotary does. I was learning a lot about what you guys do from a social perspective. With that, I can't tell you how thankful I am for the opportunity to be here today. I was told that I should hang out and answer questions if there happen to be any. Yes, ma'am, sure.
Oh, you have to do your mask.
I was wondering, looking at your charts, are we headed into something like the Weimar Republic if COVID doesn't just go away fast?
No, I don't think that we are. I think the value of the US dollar being relatively strong. Look, the brief answer to your question is, as bad of things as we're doing in the United States, the rest of the world is doing things that are even worse. And so we're seeing an inflow of capital from places like China, for example, other areas around the world, because the United States dollar and investments in the United States are still the best you can have anywhere on planet Earth. And that is what's benefiting us. I will tell you that I think there's going to be a concerted effort, much like what you were talking about before, to actually devalue the United States dollar. Because after World War II, one of the things that the United States did was pay back an inordinate amount of debt with a devalued US dollar. So essentially, we're taking out the debt at top dollar and paying it back with a devalued dollar. And there could be some benefits to that, but we get it wrong, and it's going to be a train wreck for the United States economy. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to wait for the mic.
I appreciated how you had communicate. Any suggestions on how we can do that during an election year?
Yeah, look, you know, I have to tell you, I wouldn't trade places with the governor of the state of Nevada for anything. I think that is an awful, awful job. I think he doesn't have the resources to get it done. I think his staff are some of the hardest working people on planet Earth. They don't have the technology to be able to do everything they want to do, and they are trying as hard as they can. You know, I think back in terms of, okay, what might I have done differently? Would I have not shut down the strip, or would I have opened up earlier, something along those lines? Look, I would certainly encourage our elected officials, get on TV. Be regular every Tuesday, every Wednesday, what do the Rotary meet? Every Thursday at noon? Fine. Take that. Well, don't take that spot because that's a Rotary spot, but take anything else, right? And just get out there and tell people this is what our plan is. I can only encourage folks to do that. In addition to that, right now we have the COVID-19 task force, and these folks are doing incredible things. But I also think we should have a task force for the economy. I think we should have a task force for fiscal, and I think we should have social and legal. I think we should have a task force for each one of those, developing concepts and getting them a bit ahead in terms of where we're going to be, not 3 months from now, but 3 years from now.
Can you put Zoom into the question queue here?
Go ahead, Stu.
Okay. I wish I had a seatbelt. I nearly fell off my chair during the presentation. You had diversification up there as one of the bullets, and of course the time to do that was when times were good. But it seems as though our congressional delegation has stood in the way of all the meaningful things that could be done, and there still are opportunities out there. Do you have any view as to whether there's things that should be happening right now? There have been suggestions that the spent nuclear fuel industry, drones, cybersecurity are all natural homes for Nevada. But our representatives in Congress and the Senate have basically not just not done anything, they've actually stood in the way of any of those things happening.
You had me all the way until the end. I have a fair opportunity to talk to the folks from the federal delegation, and I'll tell you, I don't think our federal delegation is standing in the way of anything right now. I think that they know how important this is for the state of Nevada, and I think they're making every effort to do that. The reality is that you know, we all know the term politic, right? But does anyone know the origin of the word politic, right? Poly, of course, means many. Tick, meaning blood-sucking insect, right? And that is a terrible joke. It was totally gratuitous, and I don't mean it at all. And I retract that. I'm sorry that I even said it. And while I tend to have a problem with politics as it exists, Stu, I don't have a problem with our politicians. I believe these are passionate people that are trying to come up with a solution and that reasonable minds can differ. What I would do, and I think this was the beginning of your question, I think what I would do is ask them to find a compromise, because I think by the time they get there, it may be too late for the state of Nevada if we continue to slip and slide. The second half of your question was about what are the things that we can do, right? I think one of the things that came out just last week was the governor getting behind Google, investing literally billions of dollars in the state of Nevada, both north and south, for some of the things that are there, right? We had, under Governor Sandoval, we had among the most prolific economic development programs in the entire United States. And that's when our unemployment rate was 14%. Governor Sandoval came in and said, Governor Sisolak came in and said, we need to rethink this. And I think he was right about that, because our unemployment rate was down to 4%. It was time to trade quantity for quality. Now our unemployment rate is very high again, and we're rethinking economic development again. There's a lot of opportunities, many of which Stu just mentioned overall, right? As much as I don't like the political process, I understand that it needs to happen. And I really do believe the people that are trying to make it happen are good, particularly those from the state of Nevada. And I don't know many from outside of the state of Nevada, but I believe in our elected officials here. Yes, sir. Oh, is there one back there first?
Yeah.
I just saw your hand go
Jeremy,
up.
thank you for a great presentation.
Yes,
so
sir.
You're a numbers guy, and it drives me crazy that I can't get accurate numbers about death from and death with COVID, and hearing worldwide that we've handled it worse than any other country. Can you weigh in on that and let me know what your thoughts are?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's something that we hear all the time, death from and death with COVID-19. Look, and I've heard all the stories about, every hospital is classifying people as having COVID-19 and all those other things. I have to tell you, I don't think any of that's true. Look, my father, God bless his soul, passed away during COVID-19. He didn't die of COVID or with COVID. He died because he was old. I talked to the coroner, and we had that conversation about dying with and dying of. And he was very frank with me about what that is and what that means. And I mean, they made the distinction. We have a fair number of hospital clients. They make the distinction. This myth that they're all being paid based on how many COVID-19 patients they're dealing with, I think is just a crock, right? Do we have a relatively low rate of death? Yeah, we do. Here in the state of Nevada, yesterday it was 5 people, and that's terrible. I don't even want one to die. But, the number of people that die from car accidents and other things is pretty significant. Now, COVID-19 is likely to be the 3rd cause of death in a number of states throughout the United States this year. It's going to go over 1 million people around the world, probably by the early next month. It's going to be over 200,000 people already here in the United States. That's a formidable challenge. And if we can stop it and change it, we should. But hanging our hat on the fact that, yes, there are people that are dying from it, it's the wrong statistic to look at. And you'll notice it's not even one of the statistics that I put up, because it is irrelevant in terms of the calculation. That's the problem. Mike, I think I've got this gentleman, and then I'll answer yours.
Thank you for a great presentation. Thanks for a great presentation. When you said something that resonated, that it's going to be potentially too late for the great state of Nevada, what do you mean?
Yeah, let me be
like?
clear about that. Like, the state of Nevada has been resilient and resourceful through any number of economic downturns. We will be here. What I was referring to is that the pain from the stimulus wearing off and that cliff that I sort of showed up there, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about all of the sudden that we're not on the other side of COVID-19. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, look, I think you could see increases in unemployment again. I think you would see instability in the housing market again. I think you could see an elongated period of economic unsettling. In addition to that, I think you could see social pressure put on the state of Nevada. That is an increased level of homelessness, an increased level of food insecurity, right? You know, my wife's a first grade teacher. God bless her soul. I don't think anybody should have that job either. That's the only one that I think might be worse than being the governor. It's just tough. I'd last 15 seconds in that job, right? And we've spent all of this time making sure that every kid's got a computer. That's important. And we made all this time and got folks like Cox Communications making sure that everybody has connected to the internet. They really stepped up. But what we didn't do in all of this was train teachers to be virtual teachers, right? We just expected them to know how to do it. It's impossible. It's impossible. They're pulling out their hair. And how exactly is it? Somebody's going to have to explain to me how you teach a first grader or a kindergartner or a second grader to read over the internet for, an hour a day. It's just not going to get it done. And we've got to figure out a better way. And my point here in terms of answering your question is that right now that stimulus is holding up all these things that are working. Do I think there's that roughly 50% of the gains we've made are based on stimulus? Now, some of that we will get back just because we're opening bars. And I think we're going to start to open up some other things with our tourism industry and things like that. I think those will press us forward. So then what we're going to have is a collision between an economy that's trying to get back where it is and folks, a third of folks concerned about getting out there, and an economy that's trying to grow and reopen itself, right? And Las Vegas's slogan cannot be, if you think COVID-19 is a hoax or an overreaction, come out to Vegas and party with us. That's not who we want to be as a community. It's not who we want to be as an industry. And so we've got to find ways to start opening things up so that there's some entertainment, there's some restaurants, there's things that people want to do while they're here. But it's that, I think your core of your question was that 50%. And I think that 50% is the prop up we're having right now. Yeah, Mike.
I guess I own with investors 3 apartment complexes around the convention center.
Okay.
We have found consistently at each of the properties tenants that are not paying their rent. And when we go to talk to them, we find they've been at the casino for 6 or 8 hours. We just find it was your issue. Do you think the governor is going to realize there's a mistake there? The people have the money to pay. They're spending it in other ways, and they're not.
Yeah, let me be clear about one thing. I've known Steve Sisolak a long time now. I don't know that I've ever heard him say it was a mistake, right? And so I don't think we're going to get that, okay? I do think that he's going to try and balance the interests, right? I do think that he's going to try and do that. And right now, I think he's scared. I think the governor, and I say that with respect, I hope it comes off that way. I think he's nervous about all those people that would be put out in terms of that eviction. Is he mindful of the fact of where that money's going? Look, yes, I think that he is. He's not a dumb man, right? But at the other side, he asks himself, okay, if I let evictions take place, what do I get? If I don't let evictions take place, what do I get? And who is in the best place to be able to bear that burden? And in his estimation, that's the landlord as opposed to the tenant, even though the tenant is theoretically supposed to have to pay everything back. We know that's not going to happen. Look, as I said before, would I have made that decision? I think I probably would have had the eviction moratorium early on in all this when it was a public health threat. Now that it's a social threat, that to me feels like intervention that's beyond the pale. We're trying to fix a social issue as opposed to a public health one. And so I kind of, I may disagree a little bit more relative to that one. I know you probably wanted a different answer, but that's where I think it stands. Thank you all very much for the opportunity.
One second. Jeremy, it's our policy to thank our guest speakers by giving you a Share What You Can award. We're going to make a donation to the USO for them to provide services to local military people in your honor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hold it up. Hold up your.
Let me hold this up. I don't know why I'm smiling.
Why did you not take credit for the stadium? Okay, we have just a couple of late announcements. Do we have a visiting Rotarian in the room? Join him. Where's our Sergeant at Arms? Oh. Welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Michael Holt. I'm from Space Center Rotary. That's by NASA in Houston, Clear Lake area. I'm visiting in Vegas, and I noticed you guys were having a meeting today, so I decided to stop by. We have not been doing meetings in person since the pandemic started. I'm actually on the board of directors there, and we've been trying to figure out ways to.
Hey, hold the mic. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the board of directors at that club. We're actually trying to come up with solutions to have meetings now to start again. And I've been pushing for a hybrid solution for months now, and this is kind of evidence that it could work. Let me ask you a question. How long have you guys been doing this? So that's for a while now,
Yeah.
about a quarter, about 3 months. Yeah, I'll make sure I pass that back to the club. I'm sure they'd be interested. I took video as well. I'm sure they'd be excited to see a working model of it.
And
Thanks for having me also.
And did you say from Houston? And is that a high water mark on your pants legs?
No, sir. Actually, we live close. Our club is close to the water. But the last hurricane that came by, the last two hurricanes, the last two storms in the area, have pretty much spared Houston. But going a little bit further southeast to Beaumont and to Lake Charles, Louisiana, they took a lot harder. So far, we've been lucky so far this year.
Good for you. Yeah. And Kirk, did you have some fine material for us? Were there more members of our club who were asking for a fine?
So where do you suppose Jim is today? Last time he got caught was with me fishing, and now it's Mike playing golf. But he's not here. So how much is the fine? What should it be? It should be double, right? At least. So what do you think? A couple $100 for Cole, once for fishing and once for playing golf?
Well, what did Mike? What did you and Jim combine score that day? So twice 89.
So
$180.
Yeah.
Thank
Is
you
it
for your
reasonable?
contribution.
There you go. Very good.
I think we're running over time, so I get the message. Meeting adjourned.
See you, Stu. Doing a great job.
Yeah, wow, that was terrific. Terrific presentation. I just I couldn't absorb it all. There was so much information.
Jeremy Aguayo has been around a long time, and he knows his stuff. He does the chamber event, or used to do it every year. You know, the economic, all about our town. Anyway, see you next week. Thanks.
Yeah, it's just I'm amazed that he didn't take up my criticism though of the politicians. So you have Catherine Masto, Jackie Rosen, and Dina Tynus, who have been longtime opponents to any nuclear diversification here in Nevada, and it is absolutely the shortest term, highest profile payback of anything that we could end up doing. We already have the test site, we have the technology. There's lots of proposals on the table, but they have stood in the way of every single opportunity to do that. And they haven't invested in the other stuff like the drones and cybersecurity. So I think it's principally the villains here are our politicians, and yet we keep voting them in.
I agree with you. You never took the tour to the test site, did you?
Yeah, I did, and more than that, there's been a constituency of people from the National Defense Industry Association and a bunch of others who have tried really hard to approach the politicians long before this epidemic with the merits of using that test site for nuclear fuel reprocessing from the, it's stored locally now at nuclear plants all over the country. And the technology to do that is well known. It's being done in other places. You can bring this spent fuel in, you can take this very dangerous stuff, convert it to things that are intrinsically safe, and then you can use that to build new nuclear power plants or fuel existing ones, as well as there's technology, the military ones, for small portable reactors that can have dual use for the military and everything else. There's a whole set of proposals that have been put in front of our delegation, and they've shot the things down. They just absolutely refuse to talk about it because it has the word nuclear in it, and they're villains as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So see you next week. Good job.
Yeah. Take care. Take care. At least we could hear everybody. That worked out really well.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. Great information.